Hello Cave Dwellers, welcome to the cave for 5 videos in 5 days. Yes, it's RMC Stuff Week and this is our first video today. It comprises of all the things I've had in the cave for months and months that I want to show you, but it just doesn't fit the normal format and I won't get a good 20 minutes video out of it. These will all be 10 minutes or less. So, 5 10-minute videos in 5 days. Let's look at some RMC stuff.
This episode is supported by MonsterJoysticks.com. Level up your Raspberry Pi with our all-in-one arcade kit using genuine Sanwa arcade parts. And OneClickPrint.com for your photos on canvas, acrylic, gifts and more. Local craftsmen and global delivery.
Hello Cave Dwellers, welcome to the cave. Many of you have recommended to me over the last 12 months that I get a vacuum desoldering tool. You've seen me with my manual solder sucker and my soldering iron very slowly taking out capacitors and whatnot, and it works for me, but it is slow and I have to be very patient. Now, the vacuum desoldering gun that you recommended was not this model, you just said I should get one, but I went for the Duratool D00672, which is what this is. And since it first appeared in my Amiga 1500 video, a lot of you have asked what it is it any good, should you buy it? So I'm going to review it today, and as with all my reviews, this is completely impartial, it's not sponsored or anything like that, so I can give you a completely honest opinion as to whether this will make a difference to your life when repairing electronics or fixing old retro equipment as I use it for. Let's take a look.
Let's get to it then. Here it is, our desoldering gun. It's made up of the gun and the main unit here, which has a control panel to choose your temperature. It's very simple. You've got Celsius or Fahrenheit on one button, down and up to take the temperature up to a maximum of 480 degrees Celsius. That's about 896 degrees Fahrenheit. There are 2 attachments to the gun from the main unit. The smaller port labelled desoldering sends the power to the gun's heating element, and the larger port provides the suction and contains a small filter, which you'll need to periodically replace to keep it running efficiently. Now, the debris isn't actually sucked into that main unit, that's held in the chamber which sits on top of the gun, as you can see, and there's some old solder inside there as I've been using it today. You'll need to clean this out, and the suction power does drop noticeably from time to time when you're using it, and that's when you know it really does need to be cleaned. And you should make a habit of cleaning it after every desoldering session anyway, just to keep it running optimally. There's a second filter here which you also need to keep an eye on and change periodically. 3 spare filters did come with mine, but after a few weeks I am down to my last one, so I'll need to source some more soon. And then you do need to get your hands dirty cleaning out the chamber and the spring before reassembling it for your next session. Included are a couple of long skewers to push into the top of the gun and dislodge any solder that's left in the shaft to keep that clear. You can see some smoke coming off the barrel there, as I've had to heat the gun up to loosen some solder that had hardened in the shaft, so the heat just allows me to push that through, and I'm pulling the trigger to provide some suction and suck it up into the chamber. And that's certainly a top tip to keep your tip top. But that really is all there is to it in terms of maintenance and parts. It's a nice simple device to understand and maintain once you've just taken a few minutes to get familiar with it. So why don't we desolder some stuff and see what it's like to use. The first big test I used it for then was the Amiga 1500 CPU socket replacement with no less than 64 legs to desolder. I use flux paste to get the old solder molten when the heat from the gun makes contact with it. The tip of the gun is conical, so the peak of each solder joint disappears into it while the surrounding solder is heated. And according to the manual, the heat of the tip is constantly checked and the unit works to maintain a consistent temperature at the tip while you're working with it. Now, the goal of owning one of these, at least for me, is of course to save time, and I can tell you it absolutely did. If I tackled this with a manual solder sucker, it would have taken me maybe an hour longer, if not more, and there would have been a lot more contact between the soldering tip and the pads, increasing the risk of damage to the board. But you can see with this gun, it's as easy as pressing it onto the leg, pulling the trigger of the gun to suck the solder up into the chamber, and moving on to the next one. One thing you will quickly adopt though is what some commenters have called the wiggle technique. That is to wiggle the component leg in a circular motion as you're sucking away the solder to make the component easier to remove and less likely to be stuck to the sides of the holes with a remnant of solder. When you've got 64 legs, even the smallest bit of solder on each of those will give it a firm hold on the board. On occasion the hole doesn't clear and the normal rules apply. Add some fresh solder and then try to clear it again as the fresh solder mixes in with the old and then hopefully makes it easier to remove this time. Let's move on to our Packard Bell 486, and here I've removed the snipped legs of a Varta battery, and you can see it makes very easy work of that, allowing me to pick the pins out and leaving nice clear holes where the old battery used to sit. And in no time, I had a new one fitted. One more example then, let's go back to our Amiga 1500 where I recapped the whole board in episode 2 of its Trash to Treasure series, and the wiggle technique had been perfected to remove all the caps. This wasn't a complete breeze as the ground plane on the Amiga board was really stubborn to work with, so some patience was required. You can still overwork and damage the pads with the desoldering gun if you're not gentle in those situations. But on the whole it made much shorter work of recapping a board with through-hole capacitors than it otherwise would with my old manual solder sucker.
So what do I think? Well, I think you can guess I'm a big fan. It's already saved me hours and hours of time, and it will continue to do so long as I just spend 5 minutes after each session cleaning out the chamber, keeping on top of the maintenance. It doesn't take a lot once you understand what all the parts are, and changing the filters, they're certainly a very cheap part to pick up. I'll post links down below, and just for full transparency, the links that I'll post to the desoldering gun are an Amazon affiliate link, which mean I'll get a small percentage of the sale if you happen to use it, but you've got the model number, so make sure you shop around and get the best deal for yourself. I hope this has been useful to some of you. As always, thank you for watching, and take care.